Every day, hundreds of thousands of patrolmen report for duty, armed with a badge and the latest in video technology. You are about to witness their never-before-seen footage, their stories caught on tape. Now, on disorderly conduct, a suspect takes a wrong turn off the highway. A killer takes aim at the wrong guy.
How dare you shoot at me, you son of a bitch.
A fishtailing trailer sparks a police pursuit. A robber fires up this store clerk. And a couple of suspects submit to a strip search without being asked. It's time to get on board for disorderly conduct. A truck nearly takes out a line of cars near Houston, Texas. Cops chase the truck through town and onto the freeway when the driver fails to pull over for expired vehicle and registration violation. Police discover that the 39-year-old driver is wanted on parole violation for credit card abuse and is also wanted on warrants for fraud and larceny. Cops block the freeway entrances to protect innocent motorists, and they've already tried to spike his tires twice, but he keeps up the chase, sometimes topping 100 miles per hour. A third spike strip attempt finally succeeds, but for a moment, it seems to make little difference. Suddenly, he swerves off the freeway. The truck flies down the grass, across the road, and then rolls, ejecting the driver. Despite the horrendous wipeout, the driver survives. He is flown by medical helicopter to a nearby hospital where he's reported in fair condition with back and head injuries. The driver is extremely lucky he wasn't crushed to death by the truck as it rolls. Now the driver faces evading arrest on top of his other legal headaches. Today, Highway 12 in Montana is the most dangerous road in America. Because somewhere up ahead is a fugitive who killed a man and shot 6 others in a bar. He also wounded an officer who tried to arrest him. Montana Sheriff's Deputy David Conway is in hot pursuit, but he can't keep up with the man's supercharged Ford.
Every time we would get to a curve, I could catch up to him. And then when we'd hit a straightaway, I could see him just pulling away from me and getting farther and farther.
Highway Patrolman Jason Hildenstab joins the pursuit. Deputy Conway quickly realizes that his fellow officer has the faster squad car. And he yields the lead to the patrolman. Now, 2 cops are in pursuit of one killer on a desolate mountain road at speeds exceeding 120 miles an hour.
We were doing speeds far in excess of what was safe, but we knew the extent of the circumstances. We knew that an officer had been shot.
After a few minutes of terrifying twists and turns, the highway patrolman closes in on his man. Then, without warning, the driver suddenly slams on his brakes. The patrolman's car slides under the Ford and sends it careening across the road. But it's soon obvious that this is far from over when the fugitive comes out firing. Moments later, Deputy Conway drives up to the deadly drama.
The first thought in my mind was, how dare you shoot at me, you son of a bitch.
Bullets fly, but miraculously, they all miss their target. Then under the cover of gun smoke, the man gets back in his car and escapes. The two officers rush to rejoin the chase, but the highway patrolman's vehicle is too damaged to continue. So he jumps into Deputy Conway's car, and the two lawmen ride as a team. Now the pursuit is nearing the Idaho state line. Officers in the neighboring state are preparing for what's headed their way.
You're ready to get the hell out of the way, though, because we don't know what he's going to do.
An Idaho officer lays out a spike strip and waits for the pursuit. He must also be prepared to yank the metal spikes back quickly so they won't puncture Deputy Conway's tires.
Watch out!
Moments later, mission accomplished. This incredible scene from Deputy Conway's dash cam documents what happens just seconds later. Soon after he runs over the spike strip, the fugitive slams on his brakes again and cuts off the oncoming officers. He tries to kill the cops. And they try to return the favor. In this view, seconds after the collision, we see Deputy Conway pointing his gun at the fugitive, while another trooper helps Patrolman Hildenstab, who's been injured in the crash. Deputy Conway takes direct aim at the man who twice tried to kill him.
Just as my front sight settled on his left eye, which I had picked as my target,
Put your hands outside the door!
and the hammer was just about to follow my gun to send a bullet down the barrel into his eye.
Keep your hands up! Keep your hands up!
I saw both of his hands coming up, and I knew at that point, with both of his hands coming up, that the fight was over and that he was done, and there would be no point to just execute this guy.
When the smoke finally settles, the statistics are staggering. After being responsible for 1 murder, 8 injuries, and a chase through 2 states, the fugitive will never be a threat to public safety again. A jury makes sure of that when they give him a sentence of 7 life terms without any chance of parole. When disorderly conduct returns, an officer fighting for his life gets help from a good Samaritan. And a stolen trailer becomes a rocking and rolling fireworks display. There's more disorderly conduct headed right at you. An army of police cars race across a freeway near Detroit, Michigan, with only one mission in mind. Get this guy off the road. 2 squad cars, both armed with dashboard cameras, capture this menace on the loose. The truck and trailer were stolen from Home Depot. When the suspect got on the highway, the back left wheel popped off. Now, sparks fly from the rims as the suspect drags the trailer all over the highway. The police suspect he's deliberately trying to hit the other cars, hoping to foil the pursuit. At one frightening moment, he almost hits a fuel tanker, barely avoiding a major catastrophe. The driver pulls off the freeway and takes to the city streets. He swerves all over the road, looking like a dazzling fireworks show gone bad. He turns onto the side streets, but officers stick close. He just doesn't seem to care what gets in his way. After a screeching left turn, the trailer fishtails, smashing a parked car. Desperate to shake the cops, he hops the curb into an empty field and tries his luck on foot. The troopers give chase through the smoky wreckage and eventually make the bust. This chilling spectacle gave police quite a scare. But in the end, the sparks get doused and the suspect gets charged with fleeing and eluding, stealing a vehicle, and resisting an officer of the law.
Go ahead, get your hands up.
Officer Rusty May calmly approaches an assault suspect in McKinney, Texas.
Get your hands up. I'll explain in a minute.
But this guy is not about to go quietly. When the policeman asks the passenger to get out,
Go ahead, get your hands up. Step on out the car.
he has no way of knowing that he is an escaped convict from Colorado. Officer May doesn't even have time to grab his weapon as the man violently attacks him. Papers from the patrolman's notebook go flying. As the battle moves back in front of the camera, the car's driver decides he wants none of this and takes off.
91.
But watch the left side of the screen. That person running toward the commotion is a young man named Lewis Wilkins. Just as the gate closes in front of the complex, Lewis takes on the role of Good Samaritan and comes to Officer May's aid. Off camera, Lewis saves Rusty May's life when he pries the suspect's hands from his throat. The attacker is finally subdued and faces charges of aggravated assault on a police officer in addition to escape charges. As for Lewis Wilkins, he receives a much-deserved Citizen Certificate of Merit from the McKinney, Texas Police Department.
Okay. Your radio's break down at 511. I'm good.
A stolen van out of Arizona crosses state lines and heads north. Utah Highway Patrol gets the call and gives chase. Up ahead, officers try to stop him with spikes, but he swerves around and presses on. Traffic slows down, but the suspect doesn't. Dust flies as he rides the edge of the narrow shoulder. With the cars starting to pile up, the suspect runs out of space, so he makes a dangerous move. He darts across the traffic jam into the brush and heads straight for a broken-down trailer. He just misses two people standing at the rear of the vehicle. An officer positions himself next to the van to keep the desperate driver from veering into traffic. It's like a drag race, but an exit sign is dead ahead. The cop bumps the van, almost smacking into the sign. The van crashes through a fence in a cloud of dust, and now the chase takes to the rural highways. It's a two-way street, but the driver still cuts corners on blind curves. The officers use the precision immobilization technique, the pit maneuver, to send the van careening off the road. The dust cloud settles as the cops move in. The suspect's vehicle rolled down an embankment, landing on its roof in the river below. The police then take him into custody. The man who led police on a two-state chase suffered only minor injuries in the violent rollover down an embankment. He was charged with felony evading, possession of stolen property, and aggravated assault. Coming your way on disorderly conduct. A man with a noose around his neck threatens to jump from a train and hang himself. And a dangerous car chase comes to a crashing halt. There's lots more disorderly conduct straight ahead. A distraught man has tied a rope around his neck and threatens to jump from a train exhibit in Pensacola, Florida. The seemingly suicidal man warns officers to stay away and threatens to leap if they move toward him. The rope is so short that police believe the man will hang himself if he jumps.
He was basically threatening if anybody came close to him that he was going to go ahead and jump off the train, and the rope was short enough to where he would have definitely hung himself.
Efforts to convince him to remove the noose and come down are not working.
He started to get a little more agitated as the day progressed. So at that point, the decision was made to go ahead and take him off of that train physically.
Officers on the other side of the train distract him as the SWAT team moves in for the rescue attempt. With his men now in position, SWAT Commander Mick Vicker is ready to make his move. The mentally unstable man warns him away. The officer tosses a flashbang that startles the despondent man. The SWAT team then peppers him with non-lethal rubber bullets and beanbags fired from a shotgun. The man falls to his knees and rolls off the train with the rope still cinched around his neck.
From my vantage point, I was unable to see what was occurring from that side of the train. Again, my biggest concern once he rolled off that train is that noose has got to be cut right now.
Fortunately, Sergeant Barr was inside the train's cab at just the right moment.
I saw his body pass by the window, and at the same time I saw the rope coming down. And as soon as the rope got taut, I had a knife, and I was able to cut the rope, and his body just fell to the ground from there.
The troubled man was uninjured during the dramatic takedown, thanks to patience, planning, and a little bit of luck. Richmond Heights, Ohio.
Officer behind a red Dodge Neo.
Two juveniles reportedly steal a car from a nearby apartment complex, and the police are in hot pursuit. The driver pushes the Plymouth to speeds topping 70 miles an hour. There's no regard for public safety or their own as they recklessly run red lights, stop signs, and drive on the wrong side of the road. The frustration level peaks as they weave back and forth, trying to shake the men in blue. The suspects dodge cars on both sides of the road at top speeds. In this busy intersection, they make a wild left turn and just miss a head-on collision with oncoming traffic. The cops cautiously wade through the maze of cars in order to keep up. These kids are lucky to have escaped some pretty close calls, but luck can only last so long. The suspects get boxed in and are forced to turn. The windows shatter as they crash into a nearby building, setting the engine on fire. The patrol car then rams the rear of the Dodge. Guns drawn, officers move in, yank the suspects out of the car, and make the bust. The driver and his sidekick are lucky they're not adults. After leading the cops on a wild goose chase all over the city, the courts give the kids a break, charging them only with stealing a motor vehicle. Coming at you on disorderly conduct. A seemingly drunk and very disorderly woman refuses to come along quietly.
Just kick my back window out.
And an armed robbery suspect nearly takes out a cop car during a high-speed chase through a residential neighborhood. Right around the corner on disorderly conduct. Police in Pinellas Park, Florida, are in hot pursuit of a gunman in a red car who has just robbed a pharmacy. A female customer in the store followed the suspect in her car and phoned police with his location. Thanks to her, numerous police cruisers and unmarked cars quickly converge on the scene and pick up the trail. They catch up with the gunman on a main thoroughfare, but he surprises them with a hard turn onto a residential street. One police unit gets stuck in traffic and yells at the cars to move out of his way. The gunman circles back and has to swerve to avoid colliding with the oncoming cruiser. Officers pursue the suspect at dangerous speeds down the quiet streets of this residential subdivision. Police catch up with him at an intersection and try to pin him with their squad cars. But he manages to free himself, and the chase is on again. Just up the road, an officer executes a pit maneuver. It's not the end of the road for this suspect. Not just yet, anyway. He pulls back onto the road, but this time there's no way out. One cruiser cuts in front of him, while another rams him from behind. Officers jump from their cars, guns drawn, and disarm the suspect without firing a shot. He's charged with a number of felonies, including armed robbery and aggravated assault with a motor vehicle. No one is injured during the chase, and thanks to a citizen who made the brave decision to get involved, a dangerous felon is in police custody. Officers in Granville, Ohio, pull over a woman driving the wrong way on the freeway. They suspect she's driving under the influence, but the woman tries to flee again until the officer reaches in and shifts the car into park. Getting her out of the car and into the back seat of a cruiser is an even bigger challenge. But this woman does not admit defeat. While officers are out of the car, she dives headfirst for the open rear window. She doesn't get far. Officers march her to a second cruiser where yet another camera catches this female Houdini on tape.
Stop! Stop messing with me! What are you doing? Stop it! What are you doing?
Incredibly, she slips out of her handcuffs. Officers restrain her again, but still, she complains.
You're not getting out. It ain't gonna happen.
Open the door!
No. You're under arrest.
Another officer approaches the car with a dash cam rolling just in time to catch, you guessed it, yet another escape attempt. She begins smashing out the windows with her feet. Finally, cops get her under control again and back into the first car. This time, they make sure she's cuffed and locked up securely. The suspect is finally out of options. She won't escape from a mountain of charges, including resisting arrest, escape, and driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol. You can run, but it's hard to hide when a FLIR camera is on the case.
I got something in the woods right there.
Tonight, the heat-sensitive imaging system is helping officers in Brevard County, Florida, track down 2 runaways. Even though the 15-year-old boys are in the woods at night, the FLIR has no problem finding them.
Okay, they're moving. You guys want to hurry up and get in here? I got them.
Seeing them is one thing, but catching them is quite another.
Right there, right off your passenger door, right up in the woods, about 20 feet in.
Earlier in the evening, they both ran from an officer who tried to bring them in.
Hang over, yeah, straight ahead. There you go, buddy.
Now a cop and his canine appear to be close to a capture, but this is far from over.
All right, they're running, they're running, they're running. Okay, guys, dog's in foot pursuit at this point. And we're still running. Okay, they got him.
1 down, 1 to go. It isn't long before the FLIR spots suspect number 2.
He's running, Mono. He's running towards Song's car now.
Just like his buddy, he's not quite ready to call it a night.
Song, you're gonna have to hurry up, double time it up here. This guy's hauling. Hop in the fence. I think he hit it in between the houses. Patrol car, come, hit your first right. It's right on the corner of that house. Watch yourself.
A few minutes later, it looks like he's going to be caught.
Right there. Dog's right on him, right there.
But when the canine cop seems to hesitate, the kid takes off again.
He's running again for the dog. Oh! Dog's getting his look out tonight. Got him. Took his shirt off. Oh, man, yeah. All right, let's go.
Finally, the screened-in porch proves to be the end of the line for this suspect.
Song, did y'all get him?
Yeah, 10-40, 10-15.
Deputies and the dog take the kid into custody.
They're running.
Now, both boys have to answer to a judge for resisting arrest and to their parents for running away from home. Next up on Disorderly Conduct. A drunk driving suspect runs from police and rolls his truck.
How many beers have you had to drink, sir?
And a pair of armed robbers who can't pull the trigger are driven from a convenience store by a gutsy clerk. There's more Disorderly Conduct headed your way. Two suspects in a Chevy truck just cut off a cop on a country road in Moulton, Alabama, and the chase is on. Cutting off the police is a pretty dumb move. And by the way the driver drifts over the white line and off the paved road, the officers have good reason to think he's been drinking. He can barely stay in the lane on the narrow streets, which makes him a threat to everyone on the road. The suspect pulls into a local driveway, and the officer tries to get his attention. But the driver seems confused and determined not to stop.
He's going around the house. Go ahead and give me some help. We can fix and get back out on the highway.
But now, this loose cannon climbs to speeds over 85 miles per hour. The Chevy tries to pass a pickup, and both vehicles lose control. The suspect's truck violently tumbles before crashing to a complete stop. A tire flies off in its wake. Smoke pours out of the aftermath as officers rush in.
Lay down and get your hands out of your pocket! Is there any guns in the truck? Sir! Sir! Talk to me! Sir, talk to me! Lay down! Don't pull a gun out. Do you hear me? Don't put your hand in your pocket, whatever you do, sir. Lay down! How much alcohol have you had to drink? How many beers have you had to drink, sir? Beers, I don't know. I ain't drank no beer. How much alcohol have you had to drink?
Enough beers that the driver was charged with DUI, as well as attempting to elude police. Armed robbers enter a convenience store in Oakland Park, Florida. One checks out the back of the store, while his partner warns the people behind the counter not to touch the silent alarm.
Get back. Get the back.
The gunman then jumps over the counter to terrorize them.
Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Don't you play me.
His partner returns and aims his weapon at the clerks.
Shoot you, man.
But when one of the thieves reaches for the cash register, the clerk fights back. The woman's screams startle the thief, who starts to flee, then returns. Despite repeated threats that they'll shoot, the robbers seem more inclined to use their firearms only to intimidate the clerks. One of the clerks has had enough and takes on the heavily armed robber, fighting back with anything he can get his hands on. But this is the gang who couldn't shoot. And they're driven from the store under a hail of everyday products turned projectiles. Convenience store items are no match for bullets, and the people in this store are very lucky these robbers never made good on their threats to shoot. A Utah trooper pulls over a car for speeding on Interstate 80. A woman inside is wanted for forgery. The officer handcuffs her, pats her down, and takes her into custody. The trooper leaves the woman alone inside the cruiser to get her personal effects from her car. What he doesn't know is that while he's busy getting her things, she's busy slipping one hand out of her cuffs. She jumps behind the wheel and makes her escape as the trooper runs at her. He tumbles off the hood of his cruiser as it rolls onto the interstate with the suspect at the controls. A short distance down the highway, she pulls over and gets rid of the handcuffs. She's quickly back on the road and on the run. But stop sticks bring her getaway to an end just a short time later. The woman who wiggled her way out of a set of handcuffs and nearly ran over a trooper couldn't wiggle her way out of jail time. She was charged with attempted homicide, vehicle theft, evading arrest, and escape. moments away on disorderly conduct. Just when it looks like this police pursuit is over, it starts up again, and again, and again. And two exotic dancers lodge a complaint these officers have never heard before.
I can't believe you guys are arresting us. We see you move.
We've got lots more disorderly conduct to show you. A car chase that began in the high desert near Lancaster, California, is now heading south on Interstate 15. The suspects, 2 men and a woman, fled as police responded to a residential burglary. The pursuit has gone on for nearly 100 miles, and the CHP wants this car stopped. Right here, right now. The driver avoids one spike strip, but rolls over the second, ripping open the right front tire. The car slows, but keeps rolling. Suddenly, one of the suspects opens a door and bails. He hits the ground hard and surrenders as police move in. The disabled car rolls a short distance, then stops. Its front tire is flat as a pancake. But this isn't the end of the road, just a pit stop. And they're off. Shredded rubber and all. They won't get far on these tires, and they know it. The suspects pull off the freeway, looking to grab a new set of wheels. The failed carjacking gives the police the opportunity they've been waiting for. 2 CHP cruisers box them in. Although surrounded by police with guns drawn, the suspects still refuse to get out. Instead, they take a broadside from a cruiser and get back on the road. But minutes later, the badly damaged car grinds to another stop. For the third time, officers aim their weapons at the suspects at close range. And once again, it isn't over. The driver hits the gas and the chase is back on. The car is forced off the road when a truck blocks its path. Just north of the San Diego County line. Again, the car rolls to a stop, setting up another standoff. This time, the CHP makes the first move, firing pepper balls into the vehicle. The non-lethal irritant does its job, and the suspects quickly surrender. Finally bringing to a close a 2-hour chase that seemed to have many endings. The suspects were arrested on suspicion of burglary and evading arrest. Officers pursue suspects they believe have been involved in an attempted carjacking, and they think they are armed with a semi-automatic weapon.
There's 2 white males. They're 10-0 with an AK-47.
The suspects in the black sedan run stop signs as they speed through this quiet residential neighborhood in Tampa, Florida.
It's gonna be a white male, last wearing a white t-shirt.
The police are right behind them and have to stop this without anyone getting hurt.
Let's go on. I'm gonna put the car. I'm gonna put the car.
The lead officer sees his chance. It's a perfect pit maneuver. He rams the rear bumper and the car spins out, taking down the street sign, pinning one suspect in the car while the other flees. The second suspects quickly rounded up, and they face multiple charges, including aggravated fleeing. And this whole dangerous incident was brought to a safe conclusion by one perfectly performed pit. In Livonia, Michigan, police have pulled over 2 women for a traffic violation. These ladies are professional dancers from a local gentleman's club. As the officers write up the ticket, the female passenger leans out of her window and flirts with them in an attempt to get out of the citation. But the officers aren't going for it. The ladies realize it's not working, so they try another tactic, something they learned at the office. A second police dash camera captures the women after they shed their clothes and head out to play in a nearby sprinkler. But officers have seen enough and move in to cut off the water show.
Lady, come back to the car.
Do you think this is gonna make me trouble and I won't be able to be a cop now?
I don't know. Get up.
The officers help the girls get dressed.
Hey, Bravo. Where are my clothes?
Which one's yours, white or black?
These ladies thought their strip show would get them out of a ticket.
I can't believe you guys are arresting us. We see you, bro.
You take them, you told me to take them.
But it backfired, and now they're under arrest for indecent exposure. Hopefully, the next time they get pulled over, they'll use less skin and more class when dealing with police.
Sunday.